This is Mike Corey from ESPN, and you're listening to the Sports Objective Podcast, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode. From the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close. All out to the last whistle blow. From the flag with the soul and crossbones. Everybody stand up, get your hands.
Welcome into the Sports Objective, a little matinee for you this afternoon as we're talking East Carolina University men's golf. And welcome into the show. We've had this guy on before, but it's been a while. And I believe the last time we had him on, he was the head coach of the women's program. Welcome back. Obviously, Kevin Williams. Kevin, how are you?
Doing great, Bubba. Thanks for having me on. Actually, last time I was on the show, I was in the Raleigh-Durham airport, and I think we were flying to the NCAA regionals when I was coaching the women's team down in Auburn. And we were in the mix there trying to get the nationals and just missed. But, I'm pretty sure that was the last time I was on.
Yeah, good recall there. Normally it's me that's got the sick memory, remembering details like that are trivial, but good recall for sure. But, we appreciate everyone tuning in this afternoon, wherever you're watching, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Obviously, this can be heard pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, but I know, Coach, I referenced you coaching the women's team. You coached the men before as well, but you returned to East Carolina after a stint with that South Carolina Gamecocks golf program back, I guess, about 8.5 months ago now. So before we talk about everything you have going on this spring, bring us up to speed and just talk about your return to Greenville and why you made that decision to come back.
Well, East Carolina University is home. Greenville's home to me, and I took the job at University of South Carolina. It was a very unique opportunity to work for a top 10 women's golf program. To be honest, I felt like I was hitting my head against the ceiling a little bit on the women's side. I thought we had a really, really nice program, had a great national reputation. Our average national ranking was in the mid-40s somewhere, and making regionals a bunch and just not getting the nationals. And Kaylin Anderson presented me with the opportunity to be her assistant. And, she was going to pay me a stupid amount of money to do it and to work for a top 10 program. And so I just looked at that opportunity and said, this is a great way for me to kind of, maybe end my career coaching with being around a team that's really highly ranked, chance to win national championship, just to see what it was like. Obviously, I really didn't have plans of coming back. Coach Andrew Satt is a close friend of mine and someone I wanted to come here and coach the men's team when I was coaching the women's side. When things, went south as far as that's concerned on the men's side here, I actually talked to John Gilbert and Ryan Robinson a little bit about some candidates for the job. And then, things just kind of, I guess the longer you talk, things kind of circle back to a conversation we had, I guess, during the Vanderbilt Super Regional. John and JJ McGlam were out at Vanderbilt, and obviously I was on the phone with Ryan Robinson, and the attention turned to me coming back and leading the men's program. And I guess just, that's where I started. I started coaching on the men's side, and then the opportunity, number one, to return home, which, it's, everybody, it's almost like I didn't leave because all the same golf pros, everybody's kind of the same, and same guys sitting around the pro shop that were there before. And so, it just was a unique opportunity to come back and maybe close out my coaching career, working on the men's side. And I've been really excited coaching the guys. We have a lot of work ahead of us with the program, but I feel just energized every day with what I'm seeing as far as a growth in our guys getting better. So it's just, I've been real happy to be back for sure.
So having that opportunity to step away from a head role and be a part of an elite program, like you were saying, a top 10 program there at the University of South Carolina, what were some of those things that you took away that you're implementing now that you're back as a head coach?
Well, I'm not sure you know me that well, Bubba, but I wouldn't consider myself a very arrogant person or a very cocky person. But to be honest, what I found out is I'm really good at coaching. And it just gave me a greater sense of confidence in myself as a coach, and that the things I was doing in our program were the right things, that the development and the teaching I was doing with our with the women on our team, and it just reaffirmed and gave me, I guess, more internal confidence in my thoughts and my views on coaching. And so I don't know. I just feel like I'm so much more confident in myself as a person, as a coach, and not that I lacked any confidence before, but it just kind of reaffirmed that to me. I did learn from Kaylin. She's a fierce competitor. I mean, unbelievable. I think the biggest thing I take away from working for Coach Kaylin Anderson is the recruiting is nonstop. I mean, you're always recruiting. Even if you're finished with that recruiting class, you're still recruiting that recruiting class, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know when somebody maybe didn't get in school late, etc. And so that was the biggest thing I took away from her, was just that the recruiting side of things. I maybe didn't dive into it as hard when I was at ECU before. Some of it's budget related, as you can imagine, but there were some things that I felt like that I helped her from a social media aspect that I brought back to East Carolina, that's helping me on the men's side now.
Absolutely. You talk about the budget, there at the University of South Carolina, all that SEC football money and so forth,
Yeah.
and the television contract coming in. Give us an idea, what is the budget there, and just not necessarily an exact figure, but just give us
Right.
kind of a ballpark of what
Yeah.
we're working
So I'll also say this. I won't say the number. Their recruiting budget for the women's golf program is bigger than our travel budget.
with. Right.
So it's hard to compare. The travel budgets were somewhat similar before COVID, but I'd say that the recruiting budget is just enormous, and that you're basically recruiting nonstop. I think, obviously, like I said, I learned that. I also learned I always tried to do things the same way. Like, I'd always give our kids a schedule before the semester started. This is where you're going to be on, say, Wednesday, March 10th. And they'd receive that the first day of class in January. And I just, number one, I want to know where I'm going to be 2 months from now, as far as schedule wise. And so I felt like for the guys on the team and the women on the women's team, when I was coaching, knowing that that your schedule's pretty much not going to change week to week, I think that consistency is really good for them to have that schedule. It's time management. Everybody, coaches talk about all the time. What's the biggest adjustment for a high school player coming to college? It's managing your time. And I think it's imperative for us as coaches to show them this is where you're going to spend your time. You're going to have, they know their class schedule, right? So, you've got 3 classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, they need to know basically where every Monday afternoon we're off, or every Monday afternoon we're practicing 2 hours at Ironwood, or every Tuesday we're playing Brook Valley. And I think that's important from a consistency standpoint. And that's the same way Coach Anderson ran her program at South Carolina. She learned that from Dan Brooks, who she played for at Duke, who's won 7 national titles. So I think that consistency is something that was something we were already doing. And obviously, I continue to do that now with our guys, because I think it's important for them to know, what lies ahead. What can I expect? Now, within that, being able to be flexible as far as practice is concerned, be a little more on the cutting edge with some of the drills you're doing in practice, some of the technique you're kind of talking about. Always trying to change. Don't sit still and do the same drills all the time. Always be willing to adapt to what's happening right now in the current environment. And so, have your set schedule, so to speak, but being very adaptable within that schedule, I think, is real important.
before we move and talk about this year's roster and what transpired in the fall, and then I know you've played one tournament thus far this spring. You talk about some of those changes and being able to adapt. You've done this quite a while now, so just talk about what are some of those things that have changed. Obviously, the equipment is always evolving, but just tell us some of those changes.
Well, I think the biggest thing right now in golf is we have a lot of athletes playing golf now that they're strong. They hit the ball forever. The equipment obviously makes a difference. The ball's going straighter. It's going further. The way the clubs are designed and everything. But I think everybody's coming in more prepared for college athletics. Their swing coaches are better at home. They have TrackMan or Flight Scope. They have trainers at home that are helping them from a physical side of things. And so, I just see high school incoming freshmen are more prepared to play at a higher level. I think they're able to adapt faster because of that. And I think that's the biggest thing I see. I mean, people ask me all the time, what's the biggest difference in now you're back coaching the men? I said, really, it's no difference. It's coaching. It's all about communication, letting them know what your expectations are of them. And as long as they understand what those expectations are, then everything should be pretty good as far as that's concerned. And so, communication is the big piece of it. And I think, being better prepared like they are from a physical standpoint, from a technical standpoint, as far as golf's concerned, it makes our job easier as coaches in a sense, because we become more like managers of their games, so to speak. Obviously I can help them, can teach them, can be their teacher if they want to just work with me. But at the same time, if they have their own coach at home that they work with on their swing, just managing that team part of it, like their team with their coach at home. Coach at home's telling me to do such and such, and then I'm there with some eyes, or Mike Cato, our assistant's there with some eyes to say, well, you're not quite doing what he or she's telling you to do. Here's what we're seeing. And I think that communication is important, and letting them know that you're on their side. And even though you're in charge of the whole program, that you're also on their team and that individual team they have, because obviously golf's an individual sport.
In the fall, in 4 tournaments, I know early on there were some struggles, but you really closed the fall out pretty well. A decent finish of 6th of 15 at the Grandover Collegiate, and you, from everything that I've seen, reading on ECUPirates.com and following on GolfStat, you see some improvement for sure from the end of the fall to now.
Yeah, number one, you're very kind to describe it that way. Our first start to the fall was tough. Change is tough, Bubba. Change in coaching staff, the transition, it's tough. It's tough on everybody involved. It's tough on the old coaching staff. It's tough on the new coaching staff. But most importantly, it's really tough on the student athletes, and I look at Jimbo Stanley and Stephen Carroll. They were recruited by Press McFall. I'm basically the 3rd coach they've been involved with at East Carolina. And luckily for me, I had history with those guys because I was coaching on the women's side when they were here. So I obviously was able to interact with some of the guys on the team before that. But, we just struggled in the transition. They were getting to know me. I took more of a role, Bubba, in the fall that normally I wouldn't do, but I wanted to just watch and observe. And I didn't really do a lot of what I would call teaching or getting my hands dirty with each of the players type deal. And I knew this off season, one of the things I thought about after the fall was over is I have to be more involved. I have to, if I see something, I have to say something a little bit quicker and point out some things, some flaws, maybe some tips that might could help them with a chip shot or putting or full swing, whatever it is. And it's actually been pretty good. We've done more we had fun, some bad weather. We had 3 weekends in a row in January. We couldn't play golf. So we're basically hitting out of our building out into the snow one weekend, or if golf courses are closed, and we're just getting some practice indoor. And it really became more of a technique practice versus normally putting them in drill situations where you're trying to emulate competition, putting some pressure on to finish a drill or whatever. And so we were able to dive into the technical side of the golf more. Matter of fact, came back from working with Stephen Carroll, and here's the best player on the team right now, stroke average wise. Really, he and AJ Beechler have been our 2 best golfers, and this second time last week actually that Stephen and I have gotten together since this tournament where he just played well, and we're working on some technical things in his swing that can make him better, and so that's the biggest thing I'm seeing is we do look better. We are trending in the right direction when I watch us play, and maybe being a little more involved in what they're doing from a technical side of things has helped. You never know. I mean, sometimes you can mess them up just as fast as you can help them, and but I do see us getting better. These next 2 tournaments will be big for us because we'll see some really, really strong competition. So it'll be a nice measuring stick for how much we have improved since the fall.
You talk about the performance of Stephen Carroll, the old crusty, grizzled veteran, if you will, the graduate student. I guess it's about this time a week ago, you were wrapping up the first tournament of the spring season down at Hilton Head. South Carolina, you finished tied for 4th as a team out of 17, and Stephen fired a 2 under par, as did freshman Tyler DeChellis out of Clayton.
Yeah, both guys played really well. It was a really tricky golf course. I'm not sure if many of the people listening have ever played Brook Valley here in Greenville, but there's not a harder golf course you can prepare on than Brook Valley. John McGinnis, Harold Varner, they'll say the same thing. It is just hard. And the course at Hilton Head, Wexford, was very much like Brook Valley. Not long by today's standards. A lot of these guys are not hitting driver maybe 2 or 3 times over the course of 18 holes. They're having to hit a lot of like Fairway Woods, hybrids, driving irons. They call them 3 irons that are a little bit bigger face that they use as driving irons, and but really tough greens. And so Stephen and Tyler handled it really well. And matter of fact, Tyler through 45 holes of the 54-hole tournament, he had the lead. He led after 36 holes. He led after 45 holes. Just unfortunate, made a couple bogeys coming in. He finished 2 shots back. Stephen made a little bit of a late charge, just hung around par the whole week, managed his game wonderfully. I didn't think he hit it as good as he normally does, but he managed his game and he putted pretty solid. So Stephen hung around, and all of a sudden he makes like 3 birdies in his last 6 holes to finish 2 under. And so, and he was thinking, I've got a couple of holes left. He kind of knew that, a couple more birdies, he might have a shot at it. So those guys really staked us off to a really good start. We had a chance to win, and I think, AJ Beechler was a little off uncharacteristically. He's a really good player, and he had a tough score that last round. And I really feel like if AJ plays how AJ normally plays, which is a 72 average, we probably win the tournament. And again, I'm not blaming AJ. It's just because obviously Stephen and Tyler played well, but it's just you never know. I mean, having a chance to win was great. And that's something we hadn't experienced this year, which was really good. And so I was really proud of how they performed. AJ's been working really hard since we got back because obviously it didn't sit well with him that he struggled that last round. And I know he'll come back with a vengeance in these next couple of tournaments.
Before we talk about the upcoming schedule and what you have this spring you have 5 tournaments and also the AAC championships down in Florida at Southern Hills Plantation. But you have a 12-man roster, and you've talked about AJ, Stephen, Tyler. Tell us about some of those other guys, and 11 of the 12 are from the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, so basically where we are right now, we have 5 guys in their last year. We have 4 that are in their next to last year. So we actually turn over 9 players in 2 years. One of the big things that John Gilbert and Ryan Robinson impressed upon me when I took the job was our roster was too big. We have 12 on the team. From a roster management standpoint, obviously gender equity is an issue that you're dealing with. And on the men's side, you don't want to have but so many players. So we're trying to get our roster down to 9 players, have a plan in place for that. I think Carter Bussey and Tyler DeChellis are 2 guys that the previous staff put a lot of time in. It was really weird recruiting them because of COVID, and they weren't able to make campus visits. I actually showed Carter Bussey the campus in July is when he made his visit to campus. But he had already, obviously, the nice thing with golf, you can see scores and you can kind of see who's this and that. Tyler DeChellis was North Carolina State Player of the Year. Carter Bussey wasn't very far behind him. And I told those 2 guys when I first talked to them, we're going to build this program around you 2. You're great students, number one. That's imperative that we have in our program. We want great students that have high expectations on the golf course, and they're high achieving not only on the golf course but also in the classroom. And those 2 guys fit what we're looking for. And I've mentioned earlier to you about what Cliff has done with the baseball program. They had 40 guys on the team. They had 27 of them make Dean's List last semester. Bubba, that's amazing, that what he's able to accomplish with that. And so that's our model. I mean, that's what we want. We want guys that are going to be high achieving academically and golf wise. And like I said, so we're building it around those 2 guys. Obviously, I talked about AJ and Steven. Nick Brown's a grad transfer from Wingate, who actually grew up in Greenville. Big Pirate fan. Nick is. He loves all the other sports and follows them pretty heavily. Big basketball fan. But Nick's going to be a really good player. We have him for 2 years. He's just got a lot of firepower. He struggles a little bit at times managing his game. And I think once his course management catches up with his tremendous talent, he's going to really take off. And so, this has been, it's different for him. Obviously, he was at another school playing Division II, and now obviously stepped up in a different league and real competitive. We got some really good guys, very consistent. Jack Massey's pushing guys to get better every day. In practice, he has only started in 1 tournament, but in qualifying, when we're trying to figure out the lineup, he pushed Tyler DeChellis to finish strong in this last qualifier. They got Tyler in the lineup, and then Tyler goes and finishes 2 under. Connor Jones is a guy that's it's got 2 years left, this year and next actually, and he's from Raleigh. And Connor just shoots a lot of good scores. He's one of the best on our team in shooting rounds par or better. Need to get him a little bit more consistent when he's not on his game, and I think that's the thing that's kind of holding him back a little bit. But we know we've got great leadership from Jimbo Stanley and Stephen Carroll. Addie Giles is another one. His cousin Ryder plays shortstop for the baseball team, and just a great student and a great person and just great leader for the team. But just a great group of guys. I tell everybody all the time, I'll tell you this quick story. So we go to Wake Forest, second tournament of the year, and we finished dead last. And I got home, my wife, Lori, says, I can't believe you're not more upset. And I said, well, she said, y'all finished last. I said, you know what? I knew coming in, it was going to be a challenge, and it was going to be a little bit of an uphill climb to begin with. I said, but they're great guys. They're so nice. And so when you have a team full of just good people, it's hard to be upset. I mean, they're trying. It's not like they're not trying. And that's the beauty of this team. They're working really hard. I mean, when I left there earlier, working with a couple of guys on their day off because they asked for some help, I mean, nearly the whole team was out there practicing, and it's their day off. So it's there's a great group of guys, and so for the future, well, kind of what we're going to do. I told John and Ryan when they were talking in the interview process, I said my perfect situation team-wise would be to have 6 North Carolina guys and 3 internationals. Obviously, Norway, Sweden were 2 countries overseas that we've had a lot of players come through our women's program. We actually, when I was coaching the men before, we had a couple guys come in from Norway and Sweden as well. And so I feel like we have a Norwegian and a Swede coming in next fall, along with the North Carolina young man from North Carolina. We lose 5, bring those 3 in. So we're on pace right now for our plan to be 6-3 here in a couple of years. And we just feel like the work ethic and the commitment to excellence that these guys bring over from Europe. I mean, they're here, Bubba, for one reason, and that's to play golf. But on top of it, they're tremendous students. I've never had one that was a bad student. They're all making Dean's List or higher. And so it's a great mix that I think, combined with the talent we have here in North Carolina and the type of players we're trying to recruit, I think it's going to be a great mix having a couple of international guys mixed in with our North Carolina guys.
You talk about that international connection and your desire to bring in those 3 internationals in an ideal situation. Obviously, on one of the ones that you coached on the women's side of things, I had the opportunity to catch up here recently. She's currently involved with her professional career, just finished up with the Pirates last season. An unbelievable career in the purple and gold, and Dorothea Forbrigg. So if you would, and just talk about just give us a glimpse of that process of recruiting international players, and how that comes about, how you identify their talent and so on and so forth.
Well, it's a lot through contacts, and I think what I learned early on at East Carolina, because we don't have a huge budget recruiting wise, you kind of need to narrow in on certain areas. As I studied different programs, I'm not just talking about golf programs, football, it. What was it? Virginia Tech was recruiting everybody from the Tidewater area. So you find your little niche. And we had some trial and error. We had a kid from Scotland, didn't work out. A kid from Canada didn't work out. Found our niche, which was Scandinavian guys and girls, and Norway, Sweden. And I understood the system. I actually got to know the national team coaches. And it's those contacts you make which make things easier on the recruiting side of things. The 2 guys we have coming in, pure and simple, because of contacts we had in Norway and Sweden. So we have a young man from Sweden coming, Lucas Augustsson, and then Philip Bondestad from Norway. And to be honest, the 2 of the girls on the women's team right now, Julie and Oda, they were helpful in giving me some advice on Philip. So it's this. Doris came to us. She knew Philip a little bit as well. So those contacts make a big difference. Doris's coach in Norway was the coach for a young lady, Nico Skog, who was on our team. And so through that coach, Dorothea came over and visited while Nico Skog was on the team. And she really liked it. She felt comfortable. And Dorothea came in, and Bubba, you have never seen anybody work like this young lady worked. And I've seen some players work. I mean, she was relentless working. So much so, at least once a semester, we would have a meeting with her to tell her to slow down, to take a day off, that you're burning the candle at both ends. It's going to catch up with you. You've got to pace yourself more. I mean, it was nothing for her on a day off, like a Saturday or Sunday. We don't have practice. She'd show up at the facility at 9:00. She'd leave at 4. I mean, she would go. She's, I'm gonna practice my wedges. She'd hit wedges for 3 hours straight. And so you talking about digging it out of the dirt. This young lady just really got. She was already good, but she became really, really good because of the work that she put in. And you're right. She had a great career for us. She set a lot of records, and such a great representative, an unbelievable student. I'm pretty sure she has somewhere close to a 3.8 or a 3.9 GPA for her career. And so just awfully proud of her. Was fortunate to coach her for 3 years. And she produced a lot of victories for our program and individually for herself as well.
Also in professional golf, from the men's side of thing, from East Carolina, obviously, now as an analyst, you have John McGinnis, and then you also you have HV3. What a win that was for him just a few weeks ago. Never, I put this on social media. Never did I think that I would get up at 3 or 3:30 a.m. to watch a golf tournament that was not the Open Championship. I would do that because I just love the Open Championship. It's such a different style of play. Playing those courses over there, St. Andrews, Carnoustie, and so forth. But man, what a win that was for HV3 and the Saudi International, and it was a long time coming. He had been knocking on the door for so long.
Yeah. I mean, those two guys. I mean, I obviously have known John McGinnis for a long time. I was the golf pro at Kinston Country Club. Coach Morrison was the coach of the men's team. And just about not every Saturday afternoon, but it was pretty standing that anytime the guys wanted to come over to Kinston to play, they'd come over on Saturday afternoon and play. And believe me, John McGinnis and the boys on the team, they had quite a few gambling matches on Saturday afternoon at Kinston Country Club. And I do remember a couple of times where McGinnis shot 63 or 64 at Kinston, and just a tremendous person, golfer, and so funny. I mean, the guy's got the best wit. He is really killing it right now with K-Track and McGinnis that he has. He basically had McGinnis on tap for years, and now he's joined Brian K-Track, and now he's joined with David Faraday on Monday nights, and he and Faraday have a show, and it's amazing to me what John's been able to accomplish. But he's got that drive, and he's got that wit, and he's just a smart guy. He really is. And where he didn't make it like golf wise, he had a nice career golf wise, and he's been able to parlay his golf playing into a tremendously successful career on the media side of things. I mean, he's doing a great job with PGA Tour as one of their walk-in analysts, and so yeah, I'm just awfully proud of John. And everything he's done, and he's a great representative of East Carolina University, and we need to get him back involved. I mean, I'm trying to figure out why he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, to me, and I know HV3 will probably get in the Hall of Fame before John, but there's no reason why John McGinnis shouldn't be in our Hall of Fame. So just awfully proud of what John's accomplished. And then Harold, what can you say about Harold? I don't think Harold's playing on the men's team. I was coaching the women's team here at ECU, so I was around Harold a lot. I'm not sure of same as John, just an infectious personality. I don't think HV3's ever met somebody that when he left that person didn't feel like HV3 was their friend. And he has this personal connection with people, and it's tough sometimes because then everybody's kind of pulling at him, and but he's just been amazing representative for the university. He loves East Carolina University. He loves the Pirates. He loves football. He loves all the sporting events, and he's been great for us from a program standpoint. We obviously use a lot of what he's doing social media wise to help us from a recruiting standpoint, and then him coming back each year and helping us with our annual fundraiser. I mean, we raised $37,000 this year in a one-day golf tournament, which is the most money we've ever raised, and just having him involved, and it enables this to happen. So we're very proud of both of those guys.
Yeah, of course, Tiger Woods, his thing was always wearing red and black in the final round. I love seeing that purple come out on Sundays.
I do too, but I told our guys at this last tournament, I kind of was letting them pick the uniform combinations in the fall, and I told Stephen Carroll and the seniors, I said, listen, we're going to wear purple the last day. And I said, we're going to wear either a black bottom and a purple shirt, but I said, it's going to be a purple shirt. I said, HV3 won wearing that purple on the last day. I said, we need to do it as well. So yeah, so we're going to try to stick to that wearing purple the last round and see if it doesn't bring us as much luck as it brought Harold.
Tell us about the rest of the spring schedule. We talked about what transpired down in Hilton Head a week ago. I know this coming Monday and Tuesday, you're going to be at Pinehurst #2 for the Wake Forest Invitational. And then you have several other tournaments, and one that I'm personally looking forward to is obviously the Irish Creek Intercollegiate hosted by the Charlotte 49ers at the club at Irish Creek, which is 5 miles from my house here. I'm in China Grove, and of course that's in Kannapolis.
Yeah, so our schedule the next 2 weeks is wow. It's tough. We go to Pinehurst #2. That part's not tough. Get to play one of the most iconic golf courses in the world. 4 rounds, 3 days. Tournaments Monday and Tuesday. We play 36 holes. First 2 rounds are Monday. Wake Forest is the host. There are 11 schools playing in it. NC State, Duke, Iowa, St. Mary's in California. I mean, it's just a really good field. Of the 11 schools, I think we're the 10th highest ranked school there. So obviously 9 other schools ranked ahead of us out of the 11 schools there. Then the next week we turn around and go to the Dunes Club in Myrtle Beach, and we are the worst ranked team in the field. So we're going to get a litmus test these first 2 weeks of March. Some high competition, and we're excited about it, actually. I mean, we feel like we're getting better. I can see it in the guys. They sense and feel they're getting better, and it's that makes you excited to go compete. So we're ready to go see. I mean, Oklahoma State, who's #3 team in the country, one of the best programs ever in men's college golf, is going to be at Myrtle Beach. So obviously we're going to get beat by them most likely, but let's see how we measure up. I mean, that's the stuff we want to do. We want to measure up with the best teams. We come after Myrtle Beach, we come home and host a tournament at Brook Valley. Field's not as strong. I think there's 4 or 5 teams ranked ahead of us in the field. So I feel like it's a tournament that we have a chance to win. After 2 weeks later, we go to Irish Creek, like you were talking about. Charlotte is top 50 in the country. They're really good. There's a few really good teams there. I think we're probably middle of the pack from a ranking standpoint in that field. And then we go to UVA's tournament. That's another strong one. Tennessee's there, who's 8th in the country. UVA is always good. So I really like the mix of our schedule. You don't want to just play in event after event where you're just getting your head beat in. You want to be able to mix it up a little bit and play in some events like Wexford, for instance, where going into Wexford, even as bad a fall as we had, I really felt like, number one, that we're better than that. And then 2, I felt like coming in, we might have a chance to win this tournament. And we did. We just didn't pull it out, but we had a chance to win. And so you want to have a mix of tournaments that you feel like you have a chance to win, but then also have tournaments where you're playing the best teams in the country. And I think our spring schedule and our schedule the whole year has provided that for us. The conference tournament, obviously at Southern Hills, is going to be tough. South Florida's top 30. Central Florida, SMU's top 30, excuse me. So those are the 2 best teams in the program, 2 best programs in the conference. Central Florida is always usually good. They're top 70 along with Memphis. Temple we just saw last week at Hilton Head, and we beat them. So, the conference is strong. It's strong in every sport, Bubba. I mean, this conference is loaded. And, it's kind of interesting. We were talking about the new conference members, and they said, well, how they, we lose 3. We lose Houston, who's really good golf. Obviously lose Cincinnati, who's okay, not bad. And then we lose Central Florida. And Ryan Robinson said, well, how do the teams that we're bringing in, how do they stack up? Well, I just mentioned Charlotte's top 50, and I'm like, North Texas is really good. Florida Atlantic is good. Texas San Antonio. I mean, we're just like, it's going to be even tougher because you're bringing in 6 really good programs. So I'm not sure that'll be the case across the board, but obviously in our sport, and I do know in women's golf too, it's going to be an upgrade as far as talent's concerned in our sports for sure.
You talk about our ranking currently. refresh me. I know down through the years, we've certainly had very good teams on the men's side. Now, wasn't there at least one year maybe when we went to nationals?
Yep, yeah,
Out
2012.
in
Yeah,
California.
yeah,
'Cause
sure
I
did.
remember following that on Golf Stat, and so refresh us, kind of what some of those better teams, and that year, like what's the highest? Um, who knows? I mean, the way rankings are kind of
Right, yeah,
subjective, but what's the
yeah.
highest ranking that East Carolina men's golf has ever had?
Probably, I would think somewhere between 40 and 55 was
Okay,
that year, 2012. I do remember when I was coaching men before, we kind of started out slow, and then we were somewhere between 75 and 95. My last 3 years coaching on the men's side, which is close. I mean, if you're top 70, you have a shot to go to the NCAA tournament. And so that's kind of where we want to get back to. I mean, I'd say when Press was here and we had a nice run in 2012, we were ranked pretty high. But I would say most years we were somewhere between 70 and 90. We were 135, I think, last year when we finished up the year. We were 159 after the fall. We were 142, so we moved up 17 spots after the first tournament of the spring. And so I told the guys our goal coming into this semester was Golf Week magazine post a spring only rankings. And I said, let's forget about the fall. I say, let's learn from it. I said, let's make this spring, let's finish in the top 100 in the spring only rankings in Golf Week, which is basically just comparing all the competitions from the spring only. And so that's kind of our goal. And obviously we got off to a little bit of a nice start in that first tournament. So we want to hopefully keep it rolling, and let's finish top half of the field at Wake Forest and Pinehurst. We can do that. We got a lot of North Carolina kids playing. We know that golf course. We finished top half of the field there. We're going to shoot up 20 to 30 more spots in the rankings, And at Dunes Club, even though we're that, highest, worst ranked team there, let's finish top 10 out of 17 schools. And I guarantee you we'll move up some more. And so that's kind of like our goal. Let's take this spring and make it a different season, and let's learn from what we did in the fall, and make this spring as memorable as we can.
just out of curiosity, how many men's golf programs are there in NCAA Division One? Because I know obviously, like in baseball and in basketball, you have anywhere from like 300 to 350.
Yeah, it's 365, I believe, on
Okay.
men's golf. Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot.
Couple more things for you as we
Okay.
wrap this up. If you were talking, or you never know who may be listening, talking to potential recruits out there, if you're selling them on East Carolina and why they should come to East Carolina and play men's golf, what are some of those things that you really focus and hone in on?
Well, the first thing we talk to them about is access. We are very fortunate. I mean, we're a college town, as you know, Bubba, and this place revolves around East Carolina University. And I will go ahead and tell you right now that no one has the access to golf courses that we have here at East Carolina University. If we want to play at 9:30 on a Saturday morning, Ironwood is going to give us those tee times at 9:30. I remember Coach Sapp telling me UNC owns the golf course at Findlay, and they cannot get on the golf course on Saturday until after 1 o'clock, I believe you said. And so access, to golf, whether it's Brook Valley, Greenville Country Club, we've gone to Cutter Creek quite a bit. And we're actually going to Cutter Creek this Saturday to play. I mean, just that is, it's huge what that does for your program. The other thing we talk about is, again, it's a college town. City revolves around this university, and so you're a big fish, you're a big fish, and quite a big in the, East Carolina's a big pond. It's not a small pond, but you're a big fish because people in this area make you feel that way. And obviously, with us, we're practicing around those people that are fans. Our practice field doesn't have a fence around it. We're playing among the members of clubs or people that are paying green fees. And so it's imperative for our guys to be, as cordial as they can and respectful and engaging with Pirate Club members or whoever is playing on the golf course. So, that's our biggest two things. I mean, we're very functional. Our building that we have at Ironwood, we didn't have that at the University of South Carolina. We have a tremendous building that allows us to practice when the weather's terrible and not miss practice, because the golf course is shut down. So we're very, very fortunate to have those things. And I think that's the biggest things that we sell when we bring recruits into town.
From a personal standpoint, who are some of your favorite players? Obviously, you think of names, Nicholas, Woods, Mickelson, et cetera. But I mean, who are some of your favorite players? And then, what are some of your favorite courses that you've been to or had the opportunity to play? Like, for instance, a St. Andrews, a Pinehurst number 2,
Right.
Pebble Beach, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, HV3 starts the top of that list as far as favorite players and, obviously following everything he's doing just because of the personal relationship I have with him. It's interesting for me. I like a lot of guys, the story this weekend with the guy from Georgia winning, I thought was pretty neat. I really wouldn't say I have a favorite player. I really like Dustin Johnson. I think Dustin Johnson's just a tremendous talent. It's amazing what he does with it. Obviously, a big fan. I have a lot of respect for Tiger Woods, and I hope he comes back. What he's done for the game has been amazing, and how and then to top it off, COVID just basically took golf off life support, and the game of golf is in better shape than it's been in forever. I can't remember the last time it was this good a shape. But I pull for stories more than anything else. I like Jordan Spieth a lot. Justin Thomas, I'm a big fan of his, but just a lot of respect for those guys that are doing it the right way and they're working really hard. And it's pretty neat to follow a bunch of those guys because I'm looking for stuff they're doing from a technical standpoint. And then when you follow them on social media, you get to see what they're doing as far as workouts are concerned. And we do see HV3 occasionally working out. So there, I have seen them in videos working out. Just to let everybody know.
Now, as far as courses, what are some of those top courses you had the opportunity to play? I'm sure it's an absurd amount, but it's maybe tough to narrow it down. But
I probably, if I had to say my favorite golf course I've ever played is the one where they have the used to be called the Dinah Shore on the ladies LPGA. It's a major. It's called the ANA Inspiration or whatever. It's a major. Actually, I don't think that's the sponsor anymore. I think the sponsor just changed, but it's at Mission Hills in Palm Springs. I got a chance to play there when I was playing in the National Club Pro back in '92. It's unbelievable golf course there on the desert, mountains, in the background. And then actually talking about China Grove, I got to go out there when Carly Cox, who played for us on the women's team, was going through first stage of qualifying school when she turned professional, and work with her for about 3 days prior to her going through qualifying school. And we were at Mission Hills, and it was as good as I remembered it. Just a fantastic golf course. That's one of my favorites. Obviously, anything in Pinehurst is great. We were getting ready to go play number 2, which is amazing. We're going to the Dunes Club in Myrtle Beach, which is a phenomenal golf course. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to play a lot. We have a group of former players on the men's side. Each November, I get together with them and we go to Kinloch up in Virginia, which is definitely one of my favorite courses. And on our way to Myrtle Beach next Thursday, we're stopping at Eagle Point in Wilmington. And that could be probably my favorite golf course is Eagle Point. I just love that place.
Really appreciate your time this afternoon. Certainly did not intend on going this long, but excellent conversation, some excellent insight into Division I men's golf and specifically East Carolina University's program. So again, appreciate your time and look forward to catching up with you here in about a month when the Pirates come to Irish Creek.
Well, I look forward to seeing you in the China Grove area at Irish Creek here in about a month. Okay. Thanks, Bubba.